Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the El Cajon City Council meeting. The meeting is now. Would you stand then and please say the Pledge of Allegiance? And after that, remain standing for a moment of silence. And Mr. Steve Goldberg, would you lead us in that, please? Thank you. The city clerk posted orders of adjournment of the February 27, 2018 meetings and the agenda of the March 13, 2018 meeting in accordance with state law and council authority successor agency to the redevelopment agency policy. Today we have two items under presentations. The first is a proclamation to honor the life of Mrs. Frances Barra. I believe her great-nephew, David Long is here. David, would you join us down below? And I'd like to ask the council to come down below as well.
Right here. Mayor and City Council, this again is a proclamation for Frances Sebastian Barra Day, March 24th, 2018. Whereas Frances Sebastian Barra, known as Fran Barra, was born December 7th, 1924 in Lake Odessa, Michigan. In 1941, at the age of 16, she embarked upon her dream of flying, earning her pilot's license. Soon after, she secured her commercial license and flight instructor ratings, became a free-fall parachutist, ferried surplus aircraft after World War II, and continued her aviation education while working in the business as a flight instructor. She held an airline transport pilot license and was rated in single and multi-engine aircraft, single-engine sea, helicopter, and even hot air balloon, and was a CE 500 Cessna Citation type rated pilot. And whereas Frances Sebastian Barra was one of the first women in the 1940s to be designated as an FAA pilot examiner, licensing over 3,000 pilots. She was an experimental test pilot for Lift Systems Incorporated, which developed a new design in rotorcraft with no tail rotor, and in the 1960s, she became the first woman to fly a helicopter with no tail rotor. She also holds the world altitude record for Class C1D, established in June of 1966 in a Piper Aztec. And whereas Fran Barra served on California Governor Ronald Reagan's Aerospace Aviation Education Task Force in the 1960s, she was also one of 25 women who participated in the testing program of potential women astronauts. March 4th, 1975, Frances Sebastian Barra's name was written into the congressional record in a salute to women in aerospace. In 2004, her name was placed on the Wall of Honor at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum at the Washington Dulles International Airport on a permanent memorial dedicated to honor the pioneers of flight. And whereas Frances Sebastian Barra is listed in Who's Who in Aviation 1973, 2,000 Notable American Women, and the Directory of Distinguished Americans, 1985, and in March 2006, Fran Barra was inducted into the Women in Aviation Pioneer Hall of Fame. She was recognized as an elder statesman of aviation by the National Aeronautic Association in Washington, D.C. She received the FAA Wright Brothers Master Pilot Award, and she was inducted into the International Aviation Hall of Fame. Now, therefore, Bill Wells, Mayor for the City of El Cajon, together with the City Council, do hereby proclaim March 24th, 2018 to be Frances Sebastian Barra Day in the City of El Cajon. We further urge the residents of El Cajon to recognize and applaud Frances Sebastian Barra, a true aviation pioneer, mentor, icon, and legend whose dedication to aviation spanned over 77 years. a milestone that very few women or even men have achieved. Signed this 13th day of March, 2018.
Thank you all. This has been a great honor. I've been lucky enough to have known her all my life and to have spent a lot of time with her. I knew that she was a generous person. She always wanted to see people advance, and she helped as much as she could. You would never know her accomplishments unless you talked to her about aviation, because she was a very humble woman. And I'm very proud and thankful that you have given her this award. Thank you so much.
Our second item is a presentation from Rady Children's Hospital. Haven Qualman, Manager of Developmental Services, and Elizabeth Valles, Pediatric Nurse Practitioner, would like to come up and tell us about this. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello, Mayor. I have a few props.
I assume this is Hayden. Hi.
Okay. So, good afternoon, Mayor, Council members, and I'd also like to just take a quick moment to congratulate. Oh, there you guys moved. Our City Manager, Doug Wolford, who's going to be retiring this year. So, thank you very much for all that you have done for El Cajon. It has been noticed. You will be missed. Enough schmoozing. Okay. So, we're here today to thank some of the city employees from El Cajon have been very generous to Rady Children's Hospital over the past few years. First, I'm going to give you, the City Manager's Office and Human Resources this past year did an awesome book drive for us as part of their Christmas table decorating event that was given specifically to the high-risk infant follow-up clinic, and then subsequently we've been giving them out to our patients. But that's not the first year that that's happened here for our city with the city employees. So I'm going to give you just a really quick history. So this started in 2013. A large book drive was done, and retired City of El Cajon employee Drum McComber, and I think everyone knows Sunshine Horton, who played his elf. Both of them have been Citizens of the Year here, came to do the distribution of the books and actually read the story the night before Christmas to our hematology and oncology patients. Many of the kids got to sit on Santa's lap and even tell them what they wanted for Christmas and enjoyed a book. And then those that weren't able to come out to Carly's Garden that we have there at the hospital, Santa Drum and Elf Sunshine went through the hospital and distributed them to the kids. So this dates back quite a while. Then, and even this past year, Santa Drum came, and we distributed over 70 books to patients in developmental services all throughout our building with physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. So quite a few kids and their siblings each got a book. But the different floors of employees have done this. Some of them have done it as part of their Christmas table decorating, and so we really, really do appreciate that. So where are these books going? So it's coming to our high-risk infant follow-up clinic, and this is our team. There's Dr. Brian Lane, myself, Rebecca Socks, the other nurse practitioner, Roxy, who's our coordinator, and Haven, who I have brought here with me, and then Kristen, who is our director. We see patients in 3 different locations within San Diego and even up into Riverside. So I see patients there in Kearny Mesa by the main hospital, up at a satellite in Escondido, and up in Murrieta. So who are our patients? So we saw 512 infants and toddlers last year, These are children that are at high risk for neurodevelopmental problems because of either prematurity or low birth weight. It could be a congenital heart defect or congenital brain defect or some type of birth-related injury. That's one of my patients right there. I love my patients. These patients live in San Diego, Imperial County, and in Riverside County. We also get a large influx of patients that move to San Diego that the children might have been born somewhere else, especially with our military population. So how do we get our patients? They're referred from the NICUs here in San Diego based on some very specific criteria. Don't worry, I am not going to read that chart to you. Sometimes it's primary care providers that also refer patients to us that don't meet this specific criteria, but they're just concerned about the child's development and want to have them assessed. So when do we see these patients? Well, we actually see them 3 times. The first time we see them is between 4 and 8 months old to get kind of a baseline, make sure if we need to get early intervention going on them. Then the second time we'll see them between 12 and 18 months. And then their third and final visit is between 24 and 36 months. Hopefully by this time we've got them well secured into any type of services that they may need, or they've caught up and are good to go. So what happens during a visit? Well, we do a history of all of their birth history. We do a psychosocial history. I look at all of the visits that they are of specialists that they may be seeing. So we do a family psychosocial assessment. And then I'm going to do an evaluation of a child's neuromotor function, their growth and nutrition, their language development, and their motor skills, and then their developmental milestones. So you see a few of the items that are used during our testing there and an example of a physical exam. So once we get all of this information, now we have to make sure that this child is connected to appropriate services. So they're in any kind of therapies. We make sure that they're in early interventional specialists like Early Start. Some of those are teachers that are within the community. So like in El Cajon, it would be a child that would be connected maybe through Civic School. We also make sure that they're getting to all their medical appointments, or if they need another referral to a medical appointment. So you can see there's a lot of resources that we use. We also we coordinate with Regional Center and also the California Children's Services medical therapy units. We just want to make sure all of their medical and developmental needs are being met. What's really exciting is what we have coming on the horizon, and that's a new clinic called the Cardiac Neurodevelopmental Outcomes Clinic. We call it CNOC. It's much shorter. And this is a clinic that's going to really specialize on our cardiac population, children that were born with congenital heart defects, and they're also at high risk for neurodevelopmental delays. We already see these patients within our clinic, but there's now some new criteria where we may be assessing them a little bit more often in the first year of their life. So we're still looking at the same areas that we look at with our other kids, so different types of development that you can see there. We do find that feeding is a big problem for these kids. A lot of them have oral aversions after being in the hospital and being intubated for long periods of time. So it's going to be a multidisciplinary clinic, and we're very excited. As you know, Children's has also started a very successful heart transplant program, so we want to make sure that these kids stay healthy and also have a very good quality of life. Then if you want any more information about our new clinic, the website is listed there below. It's available on our webpage. So why do these books matter? Did you have a question?
Go ahead, Bob.
What is the age range of the children you work with?
So generally, we see kids around 4 to 6 months for their first visit, up to 36 months. 36 months is a hard deadline because we are run by a neonatologist, so that's the age limit.
After they're small, you don't see them anymore, or you don't pass out the books to the older ones?
Well, Santa Drum and I did pass books out to the older ones this past December.
What age range?
So that actually went up to teenagers because I did get books that were designed for older children.
Yeah.
And the books that I get that I know aren't really age appropriate, just because they're for older kids, sure, I save and sometimes give them to a sibling that has to sit very quietly through a 2-hour appointment with their brother or sister.
Okay. And when do you collect these books, or where?
I can use those books every day of the year, Mr. McClellan.
Yeah. What is how do we get a hold of you?
Well, I happen to have a close connection here within the city by the name of Ron Baez.
Ron Baez.
He's sitting up here. You can always, if you're coming down to the city for business, you can always give them to him. He knows how to get a hold of me. It's my husband.
Oh, okay.
So that's an easy way if you're coming down here.
There was a connection.
Yes, there was. And I will say the books that I utilize the most within the clinic, I'll talk again about why the books matter, are what we call these board books. So these are the books that rather than having paper pages, have the hard pages,
Right.
because little children like to tear and eat things. So this makes them last a little bit longer for the younger children. But I really can use any children's books.
Because most of the books I have are for older, at least junior high or high school. Probably.
Yeah, we can use those within developmental services. Like I said, we see kids up to, within that building, under that umbrella, we see kids up to age 18 because we have a physical therapy gym, speech therapy, kids that have delays that are older, just not specific to the high-risk infant.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
We can always use them. Books are great. We get a lot of teddy bears, so it's nice to have books. So why do these books matter? Well, studies have shown that kids that are read to have improved language skills. It also helps improve the bond between parents and children. One thing to note that many of these children that went right from the womb into the NICU sometimes weren't held for weeks at a time by their parent. We know that affects the parent bond. So this is something that sometimes they can, it helps them to forge that bond that might not have happened in those early weeks, or just the whole stress of having a chronically ill child that sometimes can affect that bond. So these are great for that. So here's a nice picture of parents reading to their children. The other thing is, I know that many families that we see are very low income. Sometimes that's why they have high-risk pregnancies and early births, and they can't afford books. I can't tell you the number of people or parents that have almost been in tears when I hand them a book and they found out they could keep it because they say it's the first book they've gotten for their child, and their child is 7, 8, 9 months old, maybe even a year. So it's really, really important for these families. So we know that, like I said, that reading is great, and so we appreciate these books. We could use 500 to 600 a year. So, any are really appreciated, and we just thank the employees for taking the time to do this now for 5 years. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And by the way, it's really important work you do. If anybody has ever been in the medical profession, they know that the superstars work in the NICU. That's like the hardest place in all of medicine to work, and the most scientific, the most technical, and you need a lot of patience. Indeed. Okay. All right, agenda changes. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
No, sir.
Council? That brings us to consent items. Consent items are routine matters enacted by one motion according to the recommendation listed below with the concurrence of the City Council. A council member or person in attendance may request discussion of a consent item at this time. Council members, do you wish to pull any of the consent items? Staff?
No, sir.
Angela, do we have any speaker cards?
No speaker cards.
Would somebody like to make a motion then?
Second.
Moved and seconded, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
All right, that brings us to public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency, to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time that the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, council, authority, and agency members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Angela, do we have any cards under public comment?
We have 10 speakers today.
10. Okay.
The first one is Deborah Reeves.
Well, ma'am, welcome.
Good afternoon. I am Deborah Reeves. I was here a month ago, and I want to update you on the situation. in Villanova Mobile Home Park, my personal situation. I reported that I inherited the mobile home in November and immediately put it on the market after this deceased person had passed away and gifted it to me. And because of the high space rent of $13.28 plus trash and sewage. In those 3 months, I have had 3 offers, and 3 offers have backed out once they find out about the high space rent and the fact that it increases 5% compounded annually. My realtor has gone to the landowner twice and asked for the new person buying if they would reduce the space rent, and she has refused. I have reduced my asking price. There is no issue with the asking price. It is the space rent. Home buyers, when they buy in this community, they intend to love their homes, take good care of them, and trust that they will keep their value or appreciate. When the time comes to sell, their hope is that they will get the true value for their homes. With this high space rent controlling them, when attempting to sell, homeowners take a huge loss just to get out. I have no monies now to pay the space rent, and I am not paying it as of March. This will allow the landowner to file eviction papers on me. If this happens, the home goes to her, and she will own it and profit from it. This, to me, feels like a passive-aggressive elder abuse and constructive eviction. I greatly appreciate your support in an affordable housing for seniors in El Cajon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Sirigliano.
Well, sir, welcome.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, staff. As you may know, I'm on the Senior Residents Association at Villanova Mobile Home Manufactured Park. There's another example, a good follow-up of what we're dealing with. And what this mainly boils down to are owners of these parks. Right now, just an added compounded thing in our park, we're dealing with some very, very serious security and safety measures. And I won't go into detail. And this is all responsibility of mobile home park owners. Moving on, as you know, we have filed an application for rent mediation. And the latest update to this is that within the next 3 or 4 days, which is around March the 17th, we should have some answer from the 3 different board members, 3 homeowners, the owners of parks rather, and 3 residents. And we're waiting to hear something back about that, probably from Mr. Williford. And that's the latest update. I wish it would have been a few days, in advance, because I could have shared a little bit more with you. And eventually, hopefully, that'll go into mediation, and then step by step. It's not easy, is what I'm trying to say. And at this time, I just want to make an appeal to all the city council members and even staff. If you really want to represent your constituents, I would greatly appreciate you speaking at one of our Senior Resident Association meetings. Yes, go ahead, Mr.
It almost sounds like these mobile home owners, which it's a free enterprise system, intend to repossess the mobile homes because they evict the people and they'll rent them out like apartments, and they'll be an apartment house rather than a mobile home park.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, just adding to what you're saying, yes, I've seen this in the past where someone may pass away, the family lives out of town. They move in awfully quickly to get them to sign off, and they usually pick it up at a very inexpensive price, fix it up a little bit, and as a rental. And this has happened numerous times in our park. But that's an excellent question. Aside from that, I would, whether I contact you individually by email or you want to contact me, we have a meeting coming up this Saturday, as a matter of fact. But we would always be flexible as far to your schedule also. Because this is what we need, not only working with the city manager, but the city council report, and including you, Mr. Mayor, okay? And if anyone else here in the chamber knows of anyone living in a mobile home park within the city of El Cajon, please contact me. I'll stay around because eventually we're going to need everyone's support, all the mobile home parks, no matter what kind they are. Okay? Now, I'm open to any other questions that might be asked about this here. This is really something that's so overdue. I can't stress that. It's been going on for years, but one thing that's good, this is the first time that it's even gotten this far, the first step of the rent mediation.
Let me see if there's any question for you. Thank you, sir. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for listening.
J.C.
Welcome.
Hi, how you doing? I specifically want to talk to Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, congratulations on your bid for Congress. I hear you ran as a constitutionalist, but yet you run a Nazi regime known as El Cajon PD. Knowing that every video I've ever taken of them, they are committing crimes themselves. And knowing that outside this building right here, you yourself, sir, were holding a press conference where the FOIAs go back to where you were keeping me out by myself, alone, where you targeted me to keep me out of that press conference was a direct violation of my constitutional rights. You claim to be a constitutionalist, I claim you to be a Nazi. You were speaking at that press conference that day when your officer blew up with me, threatening me, telling me invitation media only. Well, Scottish, you know they are, Supreme Court of the United States, people talk about our constitutional rights, Mr. Constitutionalist. In the United States, first time Piquet, they call you a liar. What you did that day was directly violate my constitutional rights by using your thugs and your Nazis. And then you went further, because they did it again and again. I don't have a single video where your officers are not committing the crimes. But to know that you, sir, were at that press conference that day, knowing you, sir, I was able to find in some of these FOIAs, knowing you, sir, were there, you're not a constitutionalist. If you want to run for Congress, we want honest people running for our Congress, and we want honest people running our cities. You, sir, need to fix your police department and fix it quick, okay? The only reason I haven't filed on you folks yet is because I was home dealing with my sick mom, but I'm back now. So either the city can apologize to me or we'll deal with it further on, okay? What you did, sir, was criminal. It's against the law. And you, Mr. Constitutionalist, using that thug right there, that one right there, were wrong. It never should have happened. The Supreme Court has ruled it is unconstitutional for you to decide who is media and who is not. They have ruled that you can't do that you cannot keep one individual out of that press conference that you don't like. And you can't use the word safety, sir. That don't fly. Okay, I had every credential you could possibly ask for, including that illegal one called SDPD, okay, which are going away soon, as soon as the Supreme Court rules. But you, sir, I promise, okay, you either fix this police department and these thugs, and you find a way to apologize to me, or you are going to deal with my cameras every chance I get to put on you, and we're going to talk about this over and over and over. And tomorrow, I'm going to my congressman, and I'm filing a formal federal complaint with the federal government concerning the actions of my videos and the FOIAs that I found that I know I can directly tie back to the senior members of San Diego County to include your office.
Thanks.
You have a nice day, sir, and your job's not to talk to me right now.
Your time is up, sir. Thanks. I'm really glad he had his First Amendment rights. It's a great country we live in. So let's go on to the next.
Carol.
By the way, I got to say that we've got a great police department. I hate to hear them maligned. Thanks.
Hello. My name is Carol, and I have a daycare, and right around the corner from a pot store, and we're just getting a lot of riffraff from the pot store. And there's another daycare. I'm 2 houses away. She's 4 houses away, and it's just we just like some more police safety there because the riffraff is really bad. The double parking. I do have pictures here. I'd like to leave with you guys.
That's fine, yeah. Absolutely.
And the address of it is on here too. I don't know what else to say, but
Let me help a little bit. I would like to ask our city manager to give you a little bit of update on what's been happening with this issue. We're making a lot of progress, but there's still some more work to do. But Doug,
Thank you. We are aware of it. It does take a while through the legal process, but the one on Washington, which is the one you're talking about, we've closed 45 in this city. We've got a couple left. That's left. It won't be open much longer, I promise you.
okay. Thank you so much.
But in the meantime, I'll have the police department go out and do some more enforcement.
Okay, just because there's daycares there, and our parents are very concerned when they come and pick up their kids after dark.
Whatever.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on a second, ma'am. I think
Ma'am?
Council has a couple questions for you.
Well, actually, I just wanted to thank you for coming in. The illegal pot stores in this city, and every single one that is open right now, is illegal. They account for the majority of the complaints that I get as a council member. And this council majority has gone on the record as being against opening any more pot shops. We've been going through the steps that the law allows us to take to shut them down. And I sympathize with your problem because I hear from businesses that are around pot shops, and they cause all sorts of problems.
Thank you. My concern mostly is just our parents when it's after dark trying to come and pick up our kids, and these people are smoking pot outside our fences, and it's just, it's not good.
And we have not authorized any pot shops in El Cajon, either medical marijuana or the regular recreational. And we will not do this as long as I'm on this council. Over my dead body, maybe. But anyway, thank you for coming in and sharing that with us. And we close them up as fast as we can, but illegal pot shops just seem to think they have their authority and not our authority to do it. And they're completely against the law, but it does take time to work
Yes,
these
I
things
understand. I even went over there myself and asked them to please watch the parking and everything for our children, and the double parking and everything. And I've been nice, but thank you so much.
If they're double parked, they can be ticketed, I'm sure.
Well, if you see in those pictures, you'll see just the two taxis today were double parked. And it happens every day. I almost hit one myself with my van full of children because they just stop right there, right in front of the bus and the 7-Eleven. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Lund.
Hi, Eric.
Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, and our community. I just wanted to come up and briefly give you some accolades because I think the city of El Cajon should be very proud of the fact that you've attracted the first business class hotel in the entire East County as far as I'm aware. So business class meaning that business people will be coming and staying as well as residents and people who are visiting residents. So the brand new Marriott Hotel, which is right down here, just down the street. And thank you, Doug and Graham and all the staff for helping to make that happen. I don't think people realize what a positive economic benefit large hotels like that can be for a community. Tourism is our second largest industry, traded industry in San Diego, and you guys are doing a lot of good things to help make it improve that. And I also want people to understand that there's a great amount of tax revenue that comes in. Tourism is an export, so that means money coming in from outside. So in many different ways, the jobs it provides, it's really going to help us a lot. And again, I just want to thank everybody here for helping to make it happen. The first one. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bill. Oh, hold on a second, Eric.
Eric, first of all, I love your tie.
Well, it's almost St. Patrick's Day, so.
And thank you for pointing that out. This is really a big deal for this city, having a business class Marriott right in downtown. And just wait until the Performing Arts Center opens up with Live Nation running the show. That there will be a synergy created that will continue this revitalization of our city that a lot of people have been working on for a long time. So
Absolutely. Well, all of the amenities in the area are just fantastic, and it's going to get better and better. So again, thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Harold Brown.
Welcome, Harold.
Mayor, Council, Harold Brown, East County Transitional Living Center. A couple things. First, I'd like to invite the entire county to come to May 5th at Skyline Church to our comedy show. We are raising private funds to build 2 additional buildings on the facility to open up 40 more rooms to be able to house families, women, men with children. So we're going really great in that process. We have to date raised about a little over half of the monies we need to accomplish the goal. So please come and support that May 5th. Also wanted to give some good news to the council that several years ago I came and promised that I would do my best to raise private funding to supplement the emergency shelter program that's very successful in getting these homeless families off the street into 28-day shelter programs where we can move them into either other programs or ours, or reunify them with the Salvation Army and other programs. I was able to secure a $100,000 donation from the Copley Foundation. So we will be able to continue our emergency shelter program throughout the year, even after the CDBG money runs out. So I just wanted to let you know that. I know you have a little homeless update, so I thought I'd update you a little bit on that. And really thank the Copley Foundation for what they've done. And we're going to continue to seek those private funds to be able to do that, because that's the monies that I really would rather use. I think the government can use the money for other things and for other programs, especially with mental health issues and whatnot with the homeless. So just wanted to update you. Thank you, and really appreciate it. It's a great country. We can come up here and say what we want to say, and yeah, it's good. Thank you.
Well done, Harold.
Yep.
Thanks.
We have 4 more speakers, and our next speaker is Brenda Hammond.
Hey, Brenda, welcome.
Hi. I want to start out with, I left a message for Mr. Mitchell about Parkway Plaza, and I'm just impressed because I know we used to hang out there as teenagers, but it's really big and grown now, and I just had a great experience. I shared that with Grandma. Mr. Mitchell, I'll let him share that with you. Also, I'm still doing my physical therapy dance stretch. And, I want to share this personal thing with you. I pulled a sciatica nerve the other night, and I thought, oh, no, I'm not going to be able to do my stretch. But, I did it anyway. I just did it to more mellow music. And I got more people out there to come out there with me. And it's a good stress relief, too. And I guess that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for Parkway Plaza. I got my new shoes.
Thanks for coming.
Larry Schulte.
Mr. Schulte, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, City. I was here a month ago. I had 2 items to speak about. One was Phantom 2U website. Still needs to be looked at and upgraded to be more friendly to the user. The second item was the empty field where the old hospital was at Main and Greenfield. And either it was a tremendous accident or somebody from the city called them, because within a week they had hired a professional group to go out and clean that field up. It looks fantastic. The only thing they need to do now is have their regular people make a policing call around the outside of the fence every couple of weeks. But other than that, fantastic job. Whoever called them, whoever pointed out, whatever was pointed out, that area looks like a park area right now. So thank you. Another item. Since I've been here, I've received this magazine several times. This month I was a little bit confused because I received this magazine. And I wanted to congratulate whoever it was that thought of this, putting this information about the city in the front of this, because I mean, I'm interested in the rec centers and so forth. I happen to be one of those people that do read it. But having the police department, the fire department, the city council names, the telephone numbers, all of this is extremely important. One thing I would recommend for future, if you continue doing this, and I hope you do, is, for example, you have a section in here on 911, when to call. That section should also include the non-emergency number. Fire department, non-emergency number. You know, for a long time, I called 911 on things that I had no business calling 911 for, because that's the only number I knew.
Good point.
I'm from a small town, Monterey, outside of Monterey, California. We only had one zip code, and everybody knew the non-emergency number was 7575. So, I mean, we had no trouble up there. And in fact, that was for both the fire and the police department. And I would call in and report something to the police department, and they'd say, oh, this is the fire department, just a minute. And I'll swear 2 minutes later, the same lady would come back and say, now can I help you? So, I mean, that's how big we were.
Sure.
But it definitely would help if that was in there. And I wanted to thank you, and I want to thank the police department. They have done a fantastic job here. Just to add to this little love fest that was kind of goofed up a few minutes ago, I don't consider any of you Nazis, and I have dealt with you in a few times on the streets and with the city and their offices and stuff. And I want to thank you for the great job that you've all been doing. Thank you.
Before you leave, Doug, do you want to give a shout out to any particular person or department that had something to do with that publication? Because it was pretty great this month.
Yeah, and we do it every 6 months. I think you had a great idea, and we both wrote it down. We will absolutely do the non-emergency numbers. Dave Richards, who was basically our replacement for Brett Channing.
Dave, stand up.
Dave.
So everybody can say hi to you.
Come on. He's one of our leads. But we have all kinds of people in multiple departments. This is a team effort. This one just got released this week. We're very proud of it. And it was emphasis on law enforcement and public safety this month. Yep.
Yeah, this one was great. A lot of information in here that I wish I'd had 5 years ago.
Well, it's nice to know that it's doing its intended purpose, that you're getting the information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bonnie Price.
Hi, Bonnie. Welcome.
Hi. I want to say that lots of comments are good ones today in spite of the negative one that was issued. I wanted to commend you also. Eric Lunt mentioned that business class hotel is here for the first time. The Marriott hotel chain has a good reputation for hiring people from the community and training them and moving them up in management. So there are a lot of folks in El Cajon who should be able to get jobs there and move up to another level in their income. So that's another good thing to say about Marriott. What I'm here to talk about basically is that I'd like you to consider adopting the same ordinance that Santee has adopted for mobile home parks. I saw it on the web, and I know that the city manager used to be the city manager for Santee, and so he's probably pretty well informed on that. And the more I thought about people in mobile home parks living in a very unfair situation, the angrier I got. You know, people have this dream of buying their own home or having their own home. And what we've heard from the people from Villanova, and I've heard from other people, is they save, they buy their home, and then it's taken away from them if they cannot keep up the pace of the rental rate increases. And this particularly affects women. Women live longer than men, and in the past, we've had a tawdry record of paying women less, and they were kept out of jobs. I can still remember seeing jobs advertised in the newspaper, men jobs and women jobs. And women jobs were secretary, waitress, nurse, teacher, and those were generally low-paid wages and salaries. And if pensions, if they had any pensions at all, they were small. And so what you're talking about is mobile home parks that usually are inhabited more frequently by women who have less retirement income than men. So this is a women's issue as well as a community issue. And it should make you think, if you have any sense of empathy at all, favorably toward adopting the same sort of ordinance that Santee adopted to help people who are good contributing members of the community and who have paid their dues, and they are owed a good, secure retirement, not being evicted. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Last speaker, Stephanie Harper.
Hi, Stephanie, welcome.
We're all talking about the same thing. Rent control is something that is needed to be looked at closely. It could be the key to bridging the gap between living a safe, clean, productive life and being homeless and living on the streets. This would mean that some rich people don't get as rich. I mean, listen to that. When is enough enough? If you have more than you need, the rest is all greed, and I know that good Christians already know that too. Just the process of trying to get into a place will make you homeless or keep you homeless. The owners ask that you make 3 times the amount of rent. So for an apartment that rents $1,200 a month, you would need to prove income of $3,600. Now, if you made that much money, you wouldn't need low-income housing. Plus, you must pay anywhere from $25 to $45 each for each credit check, each adult, for each place you apply to. Now, if you're trying to save money to move in for a deposit, you might be staying at a hotel. You can easily become homeless or stay homeless. When, if our local government cared about people more than money, it would not be a problem, but it is a problem, but a fixable one at that. Although some greedy people out there won't like it, rent control, my friend, is needed badly right now. There are so many different ways we can make this work for our city without decreasing the property value in our city. In areas of poverty where it seems to be the highest, we can give the owners a choice of either accepting Section 8 residents for so much of a percentage for the residents or abide by the new enforced rent rate control. I did read from many years ago on agenda to put a cap of rent for the senior citizens in mobile home parks, but that was shot down due to a conflict of interest, and it was never passed. So I truly hope, just because one or more of our local officials might own property that may be affected by an ordinance like this, we will not shut it down just because of greed. I'm so sorry that not all of us are going to own a home, and most of us that don't own a home probably will never own one. But that doesn't mean that we should be threatened for not having 4 walls and a roof. What I'm trying to say is that our elected officials and should be the ones looking out for us and striving for our lives to get better in order to make us a stronger community. This issue needs to be addressed, and it needs to be done now. Simply putting an issue like this on ballot for this upcoming November 2018 election will show how strongly the community, we will show you how strongly the community sees a need for this time, sees a need for this. I'm sorry. We are setting our future up for failure because of others agree to make more than they need from our citizens. Protect us, please, by putting this item on agenda and letting the citizens show you just how strongly they feel about it. Thank you.
No more speakers.
All right. There are no written communications. There are no public hearings today. That brings us to item 4.1. Item 4.1 is a report on the proactive apartment inspection program, and I would like to ask staff to tell us about this.
Just as a brief introduction, while Dan Paval and staff comes up, last year the City Council initiated this new housing inspection program. We hired a new individual who you will meet in a moment to do that. The City Council last year, in your discussion on this issue, realized that with a large number of apartments, and those apartments are growing older and older all the time, that there was a opportunity for taking advantage of lower income people in this city, and you wanted to make sure that the city was ensuring that proper codes and quality of life was being met. This is a program the city actually had many, many years ago, and then for various budgetary reasons long ago was ended. And we're going to give the status council, I think, a pretty positive status report on what has happened over the last 8 or 9 months. So I'll turn it over to Dan Paval.
Hello, Mayor Wells, City Council. Good to see you guys. Yeah, we did implement the program. Started in July of last year. It is something, I've got a brief slide for you here. It's something that we feel is very essential to the health of the city. Maintaining El Cajon's multifamily housing stock is essential. The multifamily housing stock is 52% of the housing in our city. So it's a very large percentage of the housing, and it affects virtually every service that we provide. It impacts every service that we provide: police, fire, code enforcement, social services. All the services that we provide are impacted by the large density of the multifamily housing stock. So it's something that we feel is very, and I know you feel the same way, it's very important to maintain that housing stock, to make sure we have good fundamental healthy living conditions. We want to make sure that people have good housing to live in. It fosters that feeling of community out there. It gives people dignity to have a nice place to live. So these are all important things for our community. We are faced with several challenges. As you can see, the number of apartment complexes and the number of units are definitely a challenge. We have some complexes that are suffering from very many years of neglect, and we are asking property owners to invest money in their properties that they would not normally be spending. This means that at times it's going to be a bumpy road. There's just no way around it. You know, you ask somebody to spend money they didn't want to spend. Sometimes they're not really happy with what you're saying. But we've had a lot of success. As you see, overcoming the challenges, we've inspected 125 apartment complexes, 1,806 apartment units. We are making a difference. You'll see some photographs very soon. And we are making connections with the property owners and property managers out there in the community, and that's very important. You can't stress that enough, that just being out there in the community, they know we're coming before we even inspect their complex, because they've talked to other apartment owners, so they're kind of ready for us. They understand what's going on, and they know that we're coming. Okay, I have some photographs for you, and these are all photographs that were taken of multifamily housing complexes that are within a half mile of where we stand. This was somebody's bathroom. See the shower curtain. Obviously a window. We're finding a great many electrical code violations. I have probably more pictures of electrical code violations of anything else, and some of these are very dangerous. Lots of graffiti out there in the community that we're finding. This one, actually, anytime I'm having a rough day, I bring this picture up because it makes me smile. somebody took a cell phone box and made an electrical junction box out of it. So what you see in there is an electrical cable coming down the wall into a cell phone box where they have an electrical connection and then went back out. That's why I smile. You got to give them points for creativity. We're finding plenty of infestation problems out there in the community. And this one I'll play a video for you.
If not, I can set mine, Dan.
Okay.
You ready?
Go ahead. Look at the pot.
Okay. Sorry, it's upside down. And it stopped.
If not, I can set mine, Dan.
Okay.
You ready?
Go ahead. Look at the pot.
Okay. Okay, well, you're missing the big climax. What ends up happening is this, and the door opens, and roaches start to crawl out the door.
Oh.
So I'm sorry, for some reason we have technical difficulties on this video. But and that
Maybe
was my
it's for the best.
That was my favorite favorite video. Okay, but as I've said, we are having success in the community. This is a before picture. This is after. This is a before and after on the same slide. You can see the door frame. This is a before picture, and this is after. And on this picture, if you look at not just the color of the building, which changes, but you look at the fascia board along the roof line, that is very much degraded. And you'll see in this picture that it's been repaired. We see lots of simple degradation that we're having repaired. And that's the end of my presentation. I would like to introduce Elsie Wright. Elsie, why don't you come up?
By the way, Dan, thanks very much. I know you do hard work. Hi, Elsie.
Hello. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Hello, council, manager, clerk. My name is Elsie Wright. I come to you from the city of San Diego. Over 20 years of experience doing land development, which encompasses housing, building, zoning, and fire. I'd like to thank the city of El Cajon for giving me the opportunity to work the apartment inspection program. It has been my honor to do what we're doing out there. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from the property owners, managers, and tenants as well. As Dan and the manager has said, we have a lot of deferred maintenance when it comes to the property owners and how they've been able to basically just collect rent. A lot of the units that I've been running into have had infestation of roaches, rodents, and just general dilapidation of the unit when it comes to the minimal housing standards. So I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. Yes, sir.
Do you inspect by complaint, or do you just have a roadmap of where you're headed and what you're doing in any particular zone?
Yes, sir. Currently, we are working what's called a sector map, and it coincides with the El Cajon Police Department. And so we are currently in Sector 8, and we do have a few complexes that are just outside of Sector 8, but that's our current means of working the system.
So if somebody was a tenant and had a problem with an apartment such as you've shown today, because we televise these meetings, could they call you and get an inspection done on their properties where they rent, or would they have to wait till you hit that area?
Currently, we evaluate it by the nature of the complaint, how intense it is. If it's a very serious housing issue, then by all means, yes, sir, we'll schedule them in.
Yeah, like bug infestation or something of that nature, you would go out and do that sooner then? rather than later?
If it's just a roach infestation, code enforcement has been very beneficial in helping me with a lot of the cases. So we can get on it, yes, sir, right away. If it's something more than just roach infestation, then it would be something that I would be a little bit more interested in. I'd like to get more where it's just more than just one violation, such as the bathroom that you saw. And that was only the bathroom in that particular unit. The roach infestation was there as well. There was other dilapidation in the kitchen area. So the apartment unit itself was just very, very bad.
How about rats and mice and things like that?
Yes, sir. We ran into that as well.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good job.
With Mr. Wright, over here, right around this
Over here.
corner. There we go. How are you doing?
I'm
Appreciate
good,
the work
sir.
you do.
Thank
125 out of 800, so we've got a ways to go.
Yes, sir.
I'm hoping not only as we work on a complaint-based system, but that the city has some kind of knowledge of who some of the worst offenders are, and that they're at the top of the list rather than at the bottom of the list. Am I thinking right along those lines?
Yes, you are. What we're doing currently is the ones that we run into that have those egregious violations, we keep a database. We are currently working towards putting them on an annual, so that once we bring the property into compliance, we're able to check back with them in a year to make sure that they're staying up and on their job, keeping their tenants in the minimum housing standards and the complex as a whole. You're welcome.
Gary?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I just wanted to thank you for what you do. You're changing people's lives. Our citizens have the right to safe, clean housing. And I wish we had a law where if we had landlords that had dilapidated housing, they'd have to spend a week inside one of their own apartments.
I agree.
But that goes beyond what we can do here. But I want you to know that when you go to bed every night, there are probably a lot of people thinking, I'm sure glad he came by and forced the landlord to clean up our apartment and make it decent for our family. So thank you very much.
No problem. I think that those accolades honestly go to the city of El Cajon for instituting the program.
Thanks, Mr. Wright. I've heard nothing but good things about you, and
Thank you.
Dan Papal's a superstar, so thanks very much for all you do.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
All right. Item 4.1 is an update on the homeless strategies implemented by the city in 2017. And staff, would you please tell us about that?
Certainly, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, the purpose of today's agenda item is really to give a report on the progress of the strategies that the city's implemented regarding homelessness. We've been in full implementation phase for about 3 months, so about a quarter of a year. So it's appropriate we bring this forward. One of the things that we're hoping to accomplish out of this agenda item is to get any feedback, just general feedback, maybe some opportunities to modify the direction we've been going, and to talk about some promotional next steps and seek City Council thoughts on that. The way this presentation is going to work is I have a typical PowerPoint slide. I'm going to go through some data. I'm not going to provide a lot of the color commentary, but I've invited Karina Hernandez, our housing navigator from Crisis House, she'll interrupt me throughout in the meeting. Not right now, but a little bit later on. After I talk about her program, after we talk about the Salvation Army, Captain Sean Kelsey will give a little bit of personalization of what's going on. And then after we talk about some of the things that the East County Homeless Task Force has been working on, Eric Lund will show a short video and then give a little bit of additional information. And then we'll seek some dialogue. So with that, as you recall, the city has been working on 7 different strategies that have been implemented over the last couple months. Go to the next slide. I really wanted to focus a lot of our attention on our Housing Navigator program and our Housing Assistance program. This is where we've spent the majority of our money, $70,000, to pay for a Housing Navigator through Crisis House. Since Karina has been fully employed and under this title, she has been working with 37 clients. In a case management perspective, that's a lot of clients in a very short amount of time. And not only is she waiting for clients to come to her, she proactively goes out and meets clients on a regular basis with an intern. She goes out with our homeless outreach team. When she's out at lunch and she sees a homeless person, she makes contact with them. So she's in our community. She knows our homeless community, and she's making a lot of outreach with them. As we've heard many times during presentations about homelessness, it takes a lot of touches, a lot of interaction, a lot of contact before some homeless people gain some trust and have a willingness to receive some assistance. And Karina is doing a lot of those touches to ensure that we build up those numbers. I wanted to share some data that we require Crisis House to provide to help us sort of understand the homeless, maybe a portrait of those that she's serving. And it's important to note that this is not a profile picture of our homeless community. This is a profile of those she's serving. These tend to be folks that are seeking help, so maybe the demographic may be a little bit different, but I think it's pretty enlightening, some of the data I wanted to share. So as you can see on the screen, that the average age of her clients are 34 years old. 30% of them are children under 18 years old. That's significant, I think. If you look at the total amount of time that they've been homeless, it's almost 2 years where they've been homeless, and about a year and a half of that has been in the city of El Cajon. So the reality is 75% of those that she is working with have only experienced homelessness in El Cajon, which when you hear a lot of homeless experts, they talk about our homeless are really our own people, and that's really the case, at least with those that she is serving. If we can go to the next slide. The majority of those that she is serving have been born in the county of San Diego. 72% have been born in the state of California, so only 28% have been born outside of California, 2 of them from out of the United States. We also asked about average monthly income. It's important to understand how much they can afford as they move into an apartment. There is a need for income, and the average monthly income is $860 a month, so not a lot of money. When we look at who's been housed, you'll see that monthly income goes up a little bit, but Karina is working with very limited resources to help find people housing. The last slide I wanted to share relating to housing Navigator has to do with those that where people were last housed, and that's an important indicator of where the problems are initiating from. It also has to do a lot with our housing stock. There's more homeless in El Cajon, for example, than there are in La Jolla, because sometimes we are a last stop for people that are moving down the social ladder. And so they may move to El Cajon as a last resort in some cases, in some of the apartments that we're working on, and then the next step is homelessness. And so it's important, these programs that we just learned about improving our home apartment complexes, to increase that standard, because that standard will only increase the tenant quality and help people stay out of that homeless situation. It's interesting to note that 38% of those that Karina is working with, their last permanent residence was in the city of El Cajon. It's even in my mind, even more interesting that 75% of those that were last permanently housed were in East County. So we really are serving, at least this program, through the Housing Navigator, as the City Council wanted, are really serving people that are in our own community, that are from our own community. If we can move on to the Housing Assistance Program. As you recall, the City Council allocated $80,000 for housing assistance, and this money can be used for a myriad of things, deposits, security or background checks or credit checks, helping to pay for a few months' rent until someone becomes stabilized in their house. So far, Karina has been able to house 7 households, 11 individuals. 2 of those individuals were children under 18 years old. Of those 7 households that she has found housing, she's only had to rely on our funds 3 times. So more than half the time she's able to leverage outside money, private money or county money to find housing for those that she's working with. And that was one of the instructions that this council wanted, is to leverage outside money to make our money go further. Point out that the average homelessness of those that have been housed have been homeless for almost 3 years. That figure is skewed a little bit because one woman that was housed was homeless for 15 years. And so if you were to remove her, the average length of time in homelessness is actually about 2 years. So, but these are folks that are what you would deem chronically homeless, as by definition in the homeless standard. Also point out that the average income is $1,169 per month, which is significantly more than the other clients she's working with. So she's always going to be struggling with finding the right client to find the right housing, and that's another struggle she has, is finding places to put these folks into housing. So with that, I thought we could invite Karina Hernandez to introduce herself and to maybe provide a little bit more commentary on what she's working on.
Good afternoon. Hi. So as he talked about, we've had, I think, 7 households, and one of them has been, as many of you know, in the Union Tribune Carroll, that we were able to place in not using any of the funding that we had, as well as another 56-year-old Caucasian female who has been homeless for a long time and was being taken advantage on the streets. Her payee was withholding her money. We were able to help her reapply for a new payee, and she was referred to downtown Impact she was severely mentally ill, and Impact is taking the responsibility for her independent living facility. We're also working with the ones that are struggling with income. We have a gentleman who's been on and off homeless for about 36 years, who has no income, and we are helping him apply for SSI for intellectual disability. We also have a gentleman who's been on and off homeless for about 6 years, who does have a substance abuse disorder, but I am working with his probation officer to get him into a rehab before finding him permanent housing. We're also working with Mental Health Systems Action East to those who have severely mentally ill, so that they can get services, and how a lot of them have never been prescribed medication before, have never had medication management, and those are some steps to get into finding them permanent housing.
Sounds like you've been busy. Great. Let me see if there are any questions. Bob?
Yeah, how many of these individuals that you've been able to take care of or, move on to permanent housing or whatever, how many of them have been on substance abuse or are substance abusers?
We have one who is actually, she went to a sober living, so she was a former alcoholic. So in that sober living, she is attending meetings to keep her sobriety. She did have a relapse being staying on the streets. Other ones have not disclosed any substance abuse that we've placed.
So there's no drugs or alcohol that you can tell in the others?
The ones that we've housed, no. The ones that I'm working with, trying to find alternative housing, whether going to rehab, other services, so that, outpatient, inpatient, detox, yes, there is.
And the ones that do have severe substance abuse problems, are you able to do anything with them at all? Are you communicating with them?
Yeah, so a lot of them, I've built a lot of rapport with these clients, finding them that they can trust me, that I'm here to help them, that we're trying to figure out what resources are available for them and help them get off the drugs and alcohol and off the streets.
Yeah, good job.
Ben?
Thank you for your work, first of all. And I sense the passion in your speech and in the presentation. One of the statistics that I think I'm interested about is the Housing Assistance Fund. Once, I guess I'm looking for what, or if you know, or maybe Graham said it and I just missed it. Once that kicks in, whether it's from the subsidy or private money or however you get it, do you know what percentage of people maintain and continue to pay rent by any means if they're unable to secure housing because they need a deposit, for example, and then that deposit is injected into that housing program? Do they stay on for 6 months? Is it a year? What percentage of people fall out of that and just use the Housing Assistance Fund to get a place for 3 months as opposed to 3 years?
So the goal of the program was to have case management for up to a year with these individuals, whether they're using all of our subsidy or some of it, but they have the opportunity to check in with me to see if they need another, like let's say they were sick and they were in the hospital and they need additional assistance for that month. We can look into it. Let's see if there's any other agency that can provide rental subsidy for that individual. A lot of the ones that we placed do have income. 2 of the 4 females that we placed have Social Security income. So we placed them in a place that they could afford and know that they can maintain their rental without any additional subsidy with the Social Security income that they receive.
Mr. Colosio, I can add, one of the things that we wanted to ensure is that the council wasn't investing this money and then a year later everyone that you housed is now no longer housed. So Crisis House, as part of the contract, is after the 6-month mark and after the 12-month mark gives us a status report on everyone housed. We're not at that 6-month mark yet, so we can't tell you, but that's part of the goal. So when we come back with a full wrap-up, we'll have that data for you so you can say, yeah, we were really able to get permanently these number of people off the streets.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was asking for. Thank you.
Karina used to do this for Crisis House in the domestic violence area, so you're not new to this, are you?
I am not.
You're very good at it, aren't you?
I've been at Crisis House for a little over 2 years working with different housing opportunities that we have programs.
So certainly housing people, 11 people in 3 months, you're very good at it. My question is, of the 11 people that you were able to house, what kind of effort did it take? How many visits, conversations did it take before they said yes?
With some of them, they were finally, like the older women, they're really vulnerable on the streets, and they came into us saying that they're done, they've had enough, they've been beaten up, their stuff has been stolen from them, and it was just finally enough is enough for them. They started to sleep in areas where it's well lit, being afraid that they're going to get attacked. So I think once they get to that, it's almost like their breaking point. Someone's stealing their money, someone's beating them up, and they just can't take it anymore.
You have 37 cases now. The Homeless Management Information System has, Crisis House has a couple hundred assessments here in El Cajon. Can you handle more than 37 cases, or will it take another position?
I'm taking it as much as I can, and working with the HMI system, they did send over a list that I am filtering out along with how he said an intern, and just contacting people, see if they're still homeless in the city of El Cajon, or have they been housed? And a lot of them don't have contact information, it presents a problem among the homeless, and so us being a site for the VI SPDATs, us also coming in contact with those who are taking advantage of the HMI system, the CES system, to take the VI SPDAT. And so we also collect clients that way. And
I guess where I'm kind of going is the program seems to be very successful at a very reasonable cost when other agencies are spending hundreds of millions of dollars. This is a good outcome for everybody. What if we funded another position? If we funded another position someday, are there 37 more cases out there waiting to have good outcomes?
Yes, of course. I think homelessness, as you can tell, we see it every day, whether we want to look at it or not. But there's probably 37 other people that I can't come in communication with because I'm out talking to these 37, or I'm going to be talking out to another 25. Being part of this is just trying to get to know these homeless and trying to say, yes, there's someone here, there's someone in your corner. And I think if that was a possibility and we're all on the same page, I think they would take that opportunity to get off the streets.
Yes, working with these people that are homeless, have you been able to mention to them about the El Cajon Transitional Living Center?
Yes. So
and have you placed anybody there that could get into their program that would?
So one of our first clients actually came from the East County Transitional Living Center.
Came from there, or?
Yes. The family, which is the mom plus 2 children, was once at El Cajon Transitional Living Center.
And they were homeless at the time?
Yes.
From the El Cajon Transitional Living Center, so they didn't complete their program there, apparently.
I think they were past the 28 days and then moved into a motel for like a couple of days. And same thing with, so also doing the housing navigation is, being able to see if a client comes in, if they can be referred to another agency. And so within our own agency, I was able to refer someone who was also at East County Transitional Living Center, completed the program, but was still homeless in a motel.
Yeah.
And
maybe you can work with them, and when they're through with their 28 days, if they don't want to go into their program, maybe you can help them get into permanent housing.
And I know that he does refer his clients, the two of them in the shelter, to do the VI spit out, which is also an opportunity for them to get on the list.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mayor, we'll move on to the next program, a Way Back Home program. This, as you recall, the City Council funded $10,000 to work with the Salvation Army to help relocate individuals that are from out of the area back to their home. The Salvation Army does more than just put people on a bus. They actually reach out to the family to make sure that whoever they're being reunited with is a healthy relationship. They establish them with some additional funds or some vouchers so they can secure furniture and some bedding and when they move into their house, wherever it may be in their new location. So they help create a situation for success. One of the things that we're also requiring as part of this program is a 3-month and a 6-month review to see where they're at. Are they still reunited, or do they make their way back to El Cajon to make sure that those funds were used? But since the program has been implemented, the Salvation Army has been able to reunite 8 individuals. They've spent a little under $300 per person. As you may recall, the council had sort of targeted the average cost to relocate or reunify somebody would be about $400. So we're actually doing under what we thought, which allows us to reunify several more people. If you look at where some of these folks are moving to, Tennessee, I think, and Iowa are the two furthest, and Paris in Riverside County is the closest. But these folks, a lot of them are moving out of the region back into the home with a family member. So with that, Captain Sean Kelsey's here to answer any questions and to offer a little bit.
Well, good evening. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I just wanted, we've been looking at a lot of numbers tonight, and I just want to put some faces on some of the stuff that's happening. I brought 3 follow-ups and folks that we have been working with just to give you put a face to all the numbers tonight. So the first one is this program helped a chronically homeless male that lived on the streets near the El Cajon Library. He began experiencing homelessness when he turned 18 after exiting out of a foster care system. He is currently now 24 years old. He was reunited with his dad and his dad's girlfriend in Springfield, Missouri, with the goal of getting acclimated back into society after being on the streets for so long and then finding work. We have done a 3-month follow-up on all 8, and to let you know that all 8 are doing very well. This gentleman in particular, after the follow-up, it says that he is there learning how to live indoors again and as a family unit. It's not an easy task, but he is in the process of getting his forklift operator certification and then going back to school. This program helped a female senior experiencing homelessness who slept near the Home Depot. She stated that she had been on the streets for the past 16 months. She came to us during the cold winter weather of December and was sick. Her son took her in his home in Kalispell, Montana. 2 of the goals that they had for the reunification of the family was that he was to help her get into transitional senior living and to help get her back on receiving Social Security benefits for her. After the 3-month follow-up, she arrived safely at her destination with her son, and her son was helping her get into low-income housing program there. The last one I have for you tonight is this reunification program has helped a male individual who was living in a car. He needed to get back home to his mom and support system up in Hemet, California. The mom was willing to receive him back, and then after the 3-month follow-up, it says that he did return to mom and was doing well, and then had an opportunity to move to Las Vegas with his father, where he is back working now. So some good good results.
Very, very exciting.
Yeah.
See if there's any questions for you. Questions? Well done, Captain.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you for the support. We'll keep it up.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, we can.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we'll keep going. The next program I just wanted to highlight quickly is the Real Change, Not Spare Change campaign, encouraging folks not to give to panhandlers, but rather to give to organizations that help homeless individuals. The council initially authorized the purchase of 30 signs. We have since purchased additional signs because of either vandalism or just the request for more signage to go up. We have now purchased a total of 50 signs. They're in 27 different locations. The U.S. Post Office has asked for 2 signs. We've donated some signs to the federal government. And at the last meeting, as you recall, also point out that the East County Homeless Task Force is working with the Southland Corporation to purchase signs that can go into, or posters that can go into the storefronts along in our business community. So there's an additional messaging that will happen privately, not related to the city. At your last meeting, you did discuss some thoughts about either modifying the sign verbiage or looking at some additional ways to promote how to get help, and we can talk about that at the end if you'd like, or we can talk about it now. So,
Thanks, Graham.
How about the end? We'll talk about it at the end?
Yeah, at the end.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Let me go to we're almost done. The City Council also funded the launch of a text-based phone app or application that helps link homeless individuals to services. So through this text-based app, one can identify opportunities to receive help. That's being promoted right now, and I'm going to turn the time over to Mr. Lund, Eric Lund from the Chamber of Commerce, to talk more about this program.
Yeah, so the idea here, which is very innovative, again, coming from a community team, is to provide a simple way that people can use text-only phones, because not all phones out there are smartphones that the homeless have, and they can text to Connect EC 77453, and they get all the information, and we have a short video, if it's available there, that will give you a little overview about that. We can back up to it, but
For the past week, the East County Chamber of Commerce has been giving out wristbands to local homeless shelters and first responders. Their goal is to better connect homeless people to services they need.
They can have them right on their wrist and quickly remind themselves what number to text to.
The idea is with just a text, people can get a list of local resources, like the Crisis House here at El Cajon.
I'm already signed up in there. I get my hot meals there. I get my mail there.
Jose Cruz says he's been homeless the last 5 years and thinks the wristbands could help.
If they want the services, they want the help, and all they have to do is do that, text online, yeah, I do it.
For people to get the information, they have to text Connect EC to 77453, which has options including support for basic needs, health, and shelter.
Most of them really don't know where to go or even know what to look for. And that right there, like I said, that's a big step up, and it'd be really great for that person that didn't know.
Cruz has the cell phone and thinks texting is an easy way to get information.
Not everybody out there on the streets has smartphones. And so if you don't have a smartphone, it's kind of hard to navigate a website. So we think that by having a text based app, it's going to open it up for a lot of other people.
2,500 bracelets were made with financial support from the city of El Cajon. Matt Hoffman, KPVS News.
So again, I want to thank the city because another very innovative idea, which is really being looked at by the entire regional homeless task force as a possible solution.
September the 24th, 2006, where were you?
I was sitting on a bench on Lights of Climate Amsterdam, and I was waiting to have dinner with a friend.
Must be another YouTube video, that's all.
And somebody sat down next to me and asked me what time it was. And there was a clock right in front of us, so I know that we met at 10 to 7, the exact time, and I thought it was a bit cheesy of him to ask me what time it was when there was a clock right there.
And what did he look like?
He looked, I could straight away I could see that he was homeless because he was very dirty and his hair, his beard was bigger
not Australia here, is it?
And was very dirty
No
and
problem.
his hat, right? And then later on I found.
Is that one of your favorite shows?
I know. I know. So that's the next video, probably. I just want to stress one thing, and that is that this is a community-wide, effort. It's the city of El Cajon, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, Santee, the county of San Diego, but it's also all of our citizens, all of our service organizations, our churches, our faith-based community, our first responders. I mean, it's really been amazing to see how many people from all walks of life throughout the community are coming together to try to address this issue. Because as you know, it's a complex issue. It's multifaceted. There are many different needs within this entire homeless problem. So some of these ideas they're all being kind of brought forward from the ground up. And so it's a little different approach than a lot of other communities are, kind of doing top-down approach. This is really a bottom-up community grassroots effort. And that's, I think, what it's going to take in order to really address and have an actual impact on homelessness in our community, because it's such a huge problem. And so we'll be looking at how we're doing and how we're progressing and how much impact we're really having. Are we really helping to solve this issue? How many people are coming in behind the people that we get into housing and all that kind of thing. So it's going to continue to be an issue, we know. But I think I'm really proud of what everybody has done. And I want to thank the city of El Cajon for helping and stepping up to be one of the first cities in our region to actually fund a lot of the ideas that we've brought forward. Thanks.
Ben? Eric, I think some questions.
Thank you, Eric, for all the work that you do. How long has the text been out? The text for help, how long has that been out?
This one? The bracelet? So that started about a month and a half ago. So only 6 weeks, and we've been distributing bracelets. We still have more bracelets to distribute. So if any service organizations or any law enforcement is out there that wants more of those, we'll be glad to provide them. We're also providing them to the faith-based community who has a lot of outreach teams. I also want to recognize our new coordinating director for the task force, Anna Marie Piccone-Snyder. Come on up, Anna Marie. And some of the other things that you probably aren't going to see in Graham's report, in fact, we did mention that we'd like to bring up a website if we could.
Sure.
Which is, we're doing other things as well, so there's a lot going on, including identifying all the feeding locations so that we can get people out of the parks and into places where there's actually facilities and ability to provide not only feeding, but other services as well, like showers and things like that.
Before we do that, the second part of my question was, you've been passing out bracelets then for a while, and have you been able to track the hits of texts? Have you passed out 1,000 bracelets and only got 30 hits, or 1,000 bracelets and 500 hits, or help me understand the number so I can understand.
So I don't have the numbers yet. It's a brand new program. We've really just started getting it out, but we do have analytics on it, so we'll know exactly how many times people go to what page and how many hits we're getting on those pages. So we will be able to give you that information.
Okay. Eric, thanks. Nice work.
Okay, I just wanted to say there's this other website, and it's somewhere in there. It's probably on a different browser. But anyway, I just wanted to point it out that the feeding program, we're identifying all the feeding locations in El Cajon, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, Santee, and some of the other communities. And so again, through the text on their phone, they're going to get the information about where there are feeding programs. Sometimes it's feeding programs, but also sometimes it's food pantries and also meals to go. So it's a variety. And this is it right here, San Diego County Food Resources. And Anna Marie's daughter and another intern have been helping out to develop this whole program. They're smart people and young and millennials. So Anna Marie, do you want to comment?
Hi, welcome, Anna Marie.
Hi, welcome. Nice to meet you, Council, City. So this is the first step in a multi-phase project to not only identify food resources, but also to get accurate information, and then moving on to a larger project where we meet with all of the distributors together and come up with collaborative, innovative solutions for healthy meals, not only for people living on the streets, but also for people living in poverty. So, so we created this website. The first step was to just go through all the cities and see what food resources were available, targeting public resources, so we did not include resources that were directed just to seniors or veterans or special populations. We found the resources that were food pantries, meal programs, or sack lunches. we created these tables that are updated in real time. The most innovative thing about this website is that anybody who has the link to the website, when we update our site, their link is updated as well. So this information is updated in real time wherever the link is found. And that has been a huge accomplishment and something that's very desired. So the list is one portion of the information, and the other portion is the map. So they can choose any of the sites on the map. When they choose the site, the information comes up. So this information is updated right now monthly. And when we first collected the information, we weren't positive we had accurate information, so we actually invited, for instance, all of the food distributors in El Cajon to a meeting. We had our first meeting on March 1st, and the group decided they want to meet regularly. We'll be meeting again on April 5th. And so that's just for El Cajon. We'll be doing it for the other cities next, and potentially collaborating as a county. We'll just have to see how the group wants to develop the program. Questions?
You know, it seems all very right there. You did a nice job.
Thank you. And the exciting part is the county, we met with the county last week. The county is looking at this because this program is also connected to Connect DC. So this information is provided to the Connect DC program, and this information then can be texted to the individuals who only have texting phones.
Right.
So, so we're excited, and it looks like this program will grow and hopefully get some funding.
Fantastic. Any questions? Steve?
What I like about this is there's the visual representation of how many places there are. The State of California website has 140 locations in El Cajon that accept EBT, but we'd rather they go to these locations where they're going to get some kind of human interaction, much more valuable than the 140 locations, which are still available. So there is still over 150 locations where they can get food in El Cajon, but these are probably the most important ones.
Yeah, Mr. Goebel, you bring up a good point, and that's, I didn't tell you about the whole project, but one of the goals of the project is to meet people face-to-face so that they can have access to other resources. So as the program develops, we will have other resources available at these places where they're getting a meal or some other type of nutritional food, so that that can be another avenue for them to go through the system and for us to get to know them.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming and for all the hard work you're doing.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, in conclusion, the staff report also discussed what we're doing with the ongoing homeless outreach team. We're going out twice a week with county health professionals and mental health professionals. And the staff report also outlined some of the obstacles we've had with instituting our animal shelter program for the homeless. I did talk to Ms. Hernandez. She's saying that although the program is innovative and unique, it probably won't be used a lot because a lot of people don't want to be separated from their animal for even a day. And so that will be a challenge, but it's important, we think, to have that program available so it can't be used as an excuse not to get help. So we are gearing up to launch that program once the new animal shelter opens up. Now that we've been implemented, operational for the last 3 months, we're at a point right now where we feel comfortable about marketing what we're doing. So we're currently working on a website that will focus on not only what we're doing with a message to our residents, but also we'll have links if you are a homeless person where you can get help. So there will be sort of two audiences that we'll be talking to as part of this website. We're working with the East County Homeless Task Force on creating a brochure or a card that can be utilized and passed out to homeless individuals that has a link of where they can go. If they don't have a phone, if they need other access information, it gives them that information. We'll give it to our law enforcement officials and those that are working in the social services sectors of our community. We're looking at also some additional signage, perhaps in our parks, that can direct homeless individuals of where they can receive help. But at this time, we're really looking for city council feedback on, one, are we heading in the right direction in terms of implementation? And two, are there any messaging opportunities? And one of those messaging opportunities is a follow-up from our council meeting last time where the council directed us to bring back some information about the signs that we have right now per Mr. Goebel's request. So we're here to facilitate any answering the questions or any conversation.
Okay, thank you. Council, have any questions?
Well, I'd like to toss in my idea on the signage. The current signs, the audience for the current signs is the public, not the people experiencing homelessness. So I would propose to my colleagues on the council and to the Homeless Task Force to add another sign below the existing sign. And this would be for people experiencing homelessness and for the public to refer people experiencing homelessness. This is another way of marketing the app that has been launched in case a person experiencing homelessness does not have the bracelet. This is how they find information, and this is where the public can say, go do that. So I would suggest that we add one sign below the existing sign. And if there's any community input that they'd like to give to that, I'm open to that. That's my proposal.
Well, I like Councilmember Goebel's suggestion about the second sign. It doesn't have to be that big because a lot of times the homeless are standing right below the sign asking for money. So they're right there. The existing signs, the blue signs that we have right now, discouraging the panhandling, I've talked to a lot of people about that. That's very, very popular with the public. The one comment they have about it, though, is that it needs to be a lot bigger. I kind of checked that out yesterday. I was driving west on Fletcher Parkway, and I stopped for the light to turn left onto the freeway to get onto 8, and I couldn't read our sign. So I asked my son, who's 23 years old and has much better eyes than I have, can you read this sign, Jesse? And he says, no, Dad, I can't read it. You guys need a bigger sign. So I think the verbiage is just fine. I'd like to see a much larger sign that the drivers can see even if you're in the second or third car. And I think that, in addition to Councilmember Goebel's suggestion about the signage directed to the homeless people themselves, would be a good solution.
Any other questions? I just want to make one comment. I think you're doing it. I'm interested in the data. Most of these things are ideas that came out of meetings, and it was good ideas, but we really have no sense of how effective they are. So I'm looking forward to seeing the data. I think you've already thought about that. I hope that it's going to be solid data that we can get back together 6 months to a year, make adjustments, move forward, and try to move towards more efficacious solutions. So thank you. Oh, Gary?
Yeah, I do have one more comment. Is one thing that detracts from people coming to our city are the people on the freeway exits asking for money. And I've had friends say, it really bothers me a lot. And I think by putting up these signs near the freeway exits, and that discourages people from giving them money, and then with Councilmember Goebel's idea that people can think, well, gee, they have a place to go. Why don't they call that number? Instead of asking for money, I'm not going to give them that money. Maybe I'll donate to one of these great organizations that help the homeless rather than contribute to their destructive lifestyle.
Okay, I think that's all the questions.
Mayor Wells, we
Yes.
do have a couple of speakers.
That's what I was going to ask you. So, please call them.
David Chenoweth.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I'm David Chenoweth. It's my pleasure to be here. I want to thank you gentlemen for your service to our community. And today we've heard from a lot of people with a lot of community service, and I want to be sure to thank all of you for the time and effort that you've spent in the community dealing with the homeless issue. I have some thoughts about the report. What I did was pretty simple. I took the agenda minutes, really liked the way the agenda was laid out, allowed me to link to one document after another, and I reviewed the source document and I read the report that Mr. Mitchell created. And then I sourced the report and I went to the different areas the report got its information from, and I drew some conclusions that I wanted to share with you. First off, I think it was a mistake when we decided not to create a subcommittee reviewing homeless strategies here as a city council. I think the city council should have done that. I think it should have invited all the stakeholders to come and meet rather than deferring to the East County Homeless Task Force to do this job for you. I think it's a job that this council should have done. And the reason is because I think it would have given all stakeholders a chance to participate in things like signage. Right now we have signage that essentially endorses one nonprofit. Well, we have a lot of nonprofits that need money, a lot of nonprofits that need your endorsement. And when you endorse one in a sign and then make it bigger, what you're saying is this is the attitude and the nonprofit we want to take our marching orders from. That's what I get. But when I went to their strategic plan, the first thing I learned about their strategic plan really disturbed me. And it bothered me enough to get me into about 12 hours of study. So I may need an extra minute, and I'll ask for it ahead of time. If I don't get it, I'm okay with that. The first thing I learned when I looked at the strategic plan is that it divided the community. It called me a citizen of the community an internal customer. It called the homeless individual an external customer. And then it listed a group of stakeholders that had stake in the homeless issue. The stakeholders that were excluded is our homeless community. They were excluded as stakeholders. However, those are the people you're going to do things to. Those are the people that you're going to arrest if you don't like their behavior, based on one of these teams, one of these 10 teams they created. Strong law enforcement. I think that the homeless community is a stakeholder. I also think the residents of El Cajon are stakeholders too. And so when they're excluded as stakeholders, then it's you guys, your decisions regarding homeless and our opinions. And when the homeless person is excluded as a stakeholder, we're developing a class. Now, I just watched the stats. 38% of the people that are homeless in El Cajon became homeless in El Cajon. They're our citizens. Okay? They paid their bills here. They're our citizens. They are not external customers. Until you can improve that every person that's homeless coming to this community comes from someplace else.
Hold on a second.
Okay.
I'll give you an extra minute.
All right, great. Extra minute. Next thing. So I don't like a signage that directs to another nonprofit, excluding the rest of the nonprofits. Don't think that's a good idea. Next, right now, it's something in the neighborhood of $170,000 is what that report says we've spent so far. And this particular nonprofit's looking to spend about another $250,000. And they are claiming they don't really have the data to make those decisions because one of their teams is a data building team to get data. And we have a task force here, a San Diego Regional Task Force, that just put together a strategic plan. And nobody here went to that. We didn't participate as stakeholders. You deferred to this one. And I don't think it's a business that's doing us well. I think we've had a couple of embarrassments over the homeless issue in the last year. Solid embarrassments, reach all the way out to Washington, D.C., that came with haste, that I don't think would have been made if you'd had a subcommittee to discuss whether or not you were going to arrest 12 Good Samaritans. I think we need to take a step back. I'd like to encourage you to make a mark in the county by creating a subcommittee on homeless strategies. Invite the rest of the county to come here and talk to you too, because you say they're dumping on us. Okay? Make this a big thing. Put it on your city website saying this is the example for our county. We're going to march forward with council decisions using input from these people. Thank you for the additional time. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome, sir.
Stephanie Harper. And I think she left.
Is that the end? Okay, thank you. All right. We don't need to make a motion on this, right? We're just...
Well, Mr. Mayor, if Mr. Goebel's suggestions, Mr. Kendrick's suggestions are to be implemented, I will request a formal motion on those items.
Well, what would the motion be then?
I'm going to move that we add signage similar to this message to the existing signage in a way that city staff feels is appropriate.
Well, can you incorporate Mr. Kendrick's motion into yours?
That the existing signs be made larger?
Yes.
I would also.
Do you want to? I mean, you don't have to.
No, I would direct city staff to come back with a recommendation on increasing the signage, increasing the size of the existing signage, and incorporating a new sign to go along adjacent to the existing signage. Is that clear direction?
Acceptable.
Mr. Goebel, so that would be us bringing back a proposed sign. Otherwise, an alternative could be that the council could direct us to enlarge the sign, and we'll just implement that. But unless the council wants to weigh in on size signs,
I just have
which
a
we're okay with.
question about that. So since we've already put the other signs up, if you increase the size of the signs, would you add those to the existing signs, or would you take the small ones down?
I would recommend that we purchase new signs, and as we replace signs, or over a period of time, I would hate to take all 50 of our signs and throw them in the dumpster.
Right.
It'd be
So
something that'd be
through
progressive.
attrition, we change an amount.
Correct.
You comfortable with that, Mr. Goldberg?
What kind of size increase were we thinking? 10%, 20%, 50%?
You know, I leave it to the staff's discretion.
Oh, is that where we're going?
Gary wanted the second or third car in line to be able to see it, and I think they could figure that out.
We would need to talk to our public works staff to identify what's an appropriate size sign for streets.
So if you're comfortable with leaving it to their discretion.
That was my motion, was to have them come back. Well, I guess leave it to their discretion.
Okay.
My motion is to leave it to their discretion on increasing the size and adding the additional signage.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
I had a comment,
sorry.
actually,
I
question.
apologize. Let's cancel the vote.
I thought it was informational only, so I actually had another idea. I didn't know we were going to do this today. It was similar to Councilman Goebel's idea, but I was thinking that having a similar sign to that in vinyl on the police patrol cars, because I believe that a lot of homeless people spend a lot of time in police cruisers and or being stopped, and they make that contact. So as a decal in a way.
May I suggest that we take the first motion, vote on it, and then we'll deal with the second issue. And I don't know if we have to agendize that or not. So, everybody comfortable with
You
that?
don't, sir. You can do it that way, or you can ask it to come back, but council has its discretion.
First off, let's start. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Let's vote on that. All right.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Mr. Cajon has brought up an idea. I'd like to get staff's input on this because it's to deal with police cars, and I don't know what the regulations are and what the feelings are in that respect. And I don't know if you'd like time to study that or if you'd like to.
If council
comment on
wants
that
us
now.
to look, I agree with you. I think what's on our police cars is carefully implemented. There's always been a lot of discussion, not only with the police chief, but with the POA and the industry. If you want us to look at that, bring back some ideas that might work, we'd be more than happy to do that.
Would you be comfortable with that, Mr. Cajon?
Yeah, and I think I've seen similar, not pertaining to homeless, but crime prevention stuff. Back in the day, it was like drug prevention decals that go on vehicles, and so it's fairly inexpensive. I mean, it's probably less than $10 on a cruiser to put on, and they can be taken off. And I was just, that's more effective than a sign under a sign, because they're driving everywhere, so it's a moving billboard, and I think they make the most contact with you. It's like you're waiting for a homeless person to stand under a sign, as opposed to, I reckon the police make contact with a lot of homeless people all the time, so that would make more sense.
Would you bring that back to us, Mr. City Manager? Okay, then Ben, make a motion to have staff study this and bring it back to us.
That.
Is there a second? Second, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Okay. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Okay, great. Oh, there are no commissioner reports on today's agenda. And before we get to item 6, I believe that there is a speaker.
Mr. David Chenoweth.
Mr. Genoa, welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. I had a guilty conscience when I talked to you last time because I left the podium and hadn't thanked you gentlemen for your work. So I excused myself because I also hadn't read your activity reports. So it would have been a gratuitous thank you. But this time I read your gratuity reports. And Congressman Goebel, you outshined everybody by about 25%.
I'm not a congressman. I'm just a city councilman.
I meant councilman, but I've got ideas. But you did. And the rest of you, I don't know how to measure how much time you contributed. So I did my first leadership management gig in 1978. I've always thought that if a guy gives me line items, I did this, this, and this, and he couldn't get those things done in 2.5 hours, I wasn't going to cut him much more slack. So if he didn't tell me how much time it took, I just designated 2.5 hours. I figure you can get most immediate things done in that. So that's what I did with your activity reports. In your case, you may have had 5 line items, which meant to me that you may have contributed 10 hours. But I expect that I'm wrong. And I think the activity report ought to reflect in quantity what it is that you're providing in service, possibly who you meet with. So I'm just indicating that it's an added level of transparency that I think would represent real well. And since I'm on the word, I want to take a second to say it. I called our city, and I told them that when I got to a transparency page, I really thought I should be able to click on a PDF, download it, open it, and it would say how to initiate activity with the El Cajon government, how to create an initiative, how to create an ordinance, anything for me, the guy who wants to know how to interact with you. That's what that PDF would tell me. How to be prepared for a city council meeting. If I wanted to create a referendum, how would I do that? That's very difficult to study and find out if you're just the average Joe. But it could be very easy on our transparency page to just click a button and have that document show up and say, David, if you want to get involved, here are some of the good things to do and some of the things that aren't so good. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. What I'd really like to see is a time span. If you went to a ribbon cutting ceremony, how much time did you spend at that ribbon cutting ceremony? I think that that's a reasonable request from the residents of El Cajon. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 6.1 is my activity report, and it is as reported. Item 6.2 is the legislative report. And as last meeting, the City Council formally opposed Senate Bill 827 and 946. Senate Bill 827 strips the city of its local land use authority for housing projects proposed near transit centers, and SB 946 restricts the city's ability to regulate sidewalk vendors. The city has prepared opposition letters on these two bills. As these bills move through the legislative process, I will keep you all updated as to what's happening. Moving on to Gary Kendrick.
As reported.
Mr. McClellan.
As reported.
Mr. Colosio.
They are as I've reported them.
Mr. Lowell.
As reported.
All right. Now we are at item number 11. We have a joint report from Councilmember McClellan and Mayor Pro Tem Kendrick regarding a proposed $10,000 grant to the Salvation Army. Gentlemen, please tell us about that.
Well, we had a really great presentation by the Salvation Army at the last meeting about what they did with that $5,000 that we gave them to help seniors during the holiday season. And I was really impressed by how efficient they were, by how they analyzed who needed what, and they were really on the mark on what they gave these people, things that people would really use. Salvation Army has an absolutely stellar reputation. They're honest. They've been around for about 100 years. And I think it'd be well worth the city's while to give them $10,000 for this. And I want to thank Stephanie Harper, who left the audience, for that suggestion. I think that helping seniors during the holiday time is money well spent. So I would like to put this into our next budget for consideration.
Let me call on Mr. Goebel next, because I think you were the joint author of this.
Mr. McClellan was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pardon me. Bob.
I agree with everything Gary said, but I think that probably there's certain times of the year that seniors need the help, and the Salvation Army is really in a good position to do that, not only at Christmas time, but maybe throughout the year when they see a real need that they can satisfy. And I know these things don't cost a lot of money individually as far as the things that they do for them. And I think that we wouldn't want to limit it just to Christmas time, but throughout the year as needed, that they could help seniors. So, no, I'm just saying it'd be the same amount.
But I think what you're saying, Bob, is to give them to them now and let them spend it on their discretion.
Yes, because they're very thrifty in what they do, and they know that what resources the seniors need and what times of the year.
Okay. Well, council, any questions, thoughts, discussion? Angela, go ahead.
I think the Salvation Army already has an existing tremendous network on who these seniors are, so every day you know what needs are, and you could probably use $10,000 a month because of who you're in contact with on a daily basis. So they are a great organization to give this money to.
You just made the city manager turn white, so. Okay. Angela, do we have any speaker cards on this?
No speaker cards.
Okay, I'll leave it to you.
Well, I think Bob makes a really good suggestion. You know, people don't need, tires just at Christmas time, because that saves somebody by getting tires for their car. So I think Bob has a really good idea. Year-round as needed.
So make that kind of specific in a proposal or a motion. So the motion would be to grant the $10,000 at this time to be used at the Salvation Army's discretion.
Mayor, before you get too far along, this was dealing with putting it in next year's budget. So as long as it's understood that that's what you mean by giving it to them right now, if it's next year's budget. Then.
Yes.
We'll give it to them right now in January?
No, beginning in July.
Oh, July, it's a fiscal year.
So it's just coming up in 90 days.
Fine.
So they have to wait.
Okay. Bob, do you incorporate that into your motion?
Buy it on credit and then pay it off when they get their money.
Okay,
that would be my motion.
I understand the motion. Do you understand the motion?
Year's.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll second that.
There's a second. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Great. All right, there are no general information items and no readings of ordinances at this time. We are now in closed session. We have one item on the agenda. Mr. City Attorney, will you please recite the title and lead us into the closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council will be meeting as a successor agency and the City Council in a closed session on existing litigation pursuant to paragraph 1 of subdivision D of Government Code section 54956.9. The name of the case is Cajon Valley Union School District and others against the Tracy Sandoval and others, including the City of El Cajon and the successor agency. And we expect there'll be discussion on this new litigation.
I'll make a motion then to go into closed session. Moving second, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
They're on duty, they're taking pictures of accident scenes, and they're not turning them over to the attorney. Should they turn stuff over to attorneys or not? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in closed session. I'll now ask our city attorney to report on the actions taken in the closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council, as a City Council and successor agency, met to discuss existing litigation, gave direction to the City Attorney on that litigation.
This brings us to adjournment, the regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, El Cajon Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency, held this 13th day of March in 2018, is adjourned till Tuesday, March 27th, 2018, at 3 o'clock p.m. Thank you.